into some details for news this week, or stuff really as we kick off, things that we got that hit our news wire as we were recording last week. So we had a little birdie kind of drop a bunch of stuff on the pay structure as well as other behind the scenes elements of the contracts for USFL players. Insider Mike Mitchell on Twitter dropped a lot of nuggets. I'm just saying a gold mine of nuggets for people that were really wanting to know what is going on. How does this all work? So here's the deal. We're going to go through this whole pay structure, some possibilities for pay, what practice squad and standard active roster players are going to look like, and a few elements of the contracts and handbook that I don't know. We have some points on. Let's just do the pay structure first. So details for USFL player contracts are as follows. So we'll start with training camp. Training camp has a specific pay scale per week. So starting March 21st, they are going to have a $600 per week pay for anyone that is in training camp at that time. That's any of the players that are drafted from the player selection, that get on those rosters and then make it through that roughly month period. Every week they're going to get $600 a week. Once they get to actual in pay, practice squad players will make $1,500 a week. Active roster players, $4,500 a week. Now, these are some bases. We don't know, like, for example, specialty players or quarterback ratings yet. We're talking like base ratings for guys that are just on the roster. Mm-hmm. So we don't know any specialty things. We know bonuses, by the way. Here's some bonus nuggets. Bonuses, for example, $850 per regular season or playoff win, and that's for both practice and active roster members. Championship winning players. Now, the team that wins the championship, all their players on the active roster get a $10,000 bonus dropped right into the bucket.
Dude, and that's pretty sweet.
Winning. Yeah. that is pretty nice. Considering that if we're talking 10-week total without wins for, say, for example, active roster, it's 4,500, and that's without some certain things removed. So you're instantly dropping in, like, off the top of my head, a little under a fourth of your salary is coming in all of a sudden if you win a championship. Plus, of course, any win bonuses too. Practice squad players will feel even better for that. They're making $1,500 if they're on all 10 weeks, and this is without wins as well. Now, that could change depending on injuries. Some might move up. Some could move down.
15,000
roster moves that happen. 15,000. Thank you very much. And that's 45,000 as well for active roster.
Yes.
Got to keep that clarified too.
See, I'm paying attention here, though. Nobody can say the ref's not paying attention because I know the chat and the the comments. Ah, man, it's a rough day. They're paying attention. So I'm there. I'm catching I'm the pitchfork and fire just detractor, if you will. I try to be the anti-magnet. Anyway, go on.
You're like grading my paper right now. It's like, this is wrong. This is a spelling error. This is, did you mean a different number? Like leaving those questions you see at the end when you get the paper back,
half check mark.
That's exactly what it is. That's what you're doing to me right now. Okay. A few more things. Max possible salary. So this is with all win bonuses. Say you win the entire season, undefeated, you go through the championship, and we haven't taken out any money from said items we're going to talk in a second. $75,000 per player if you get all this stuff right.
Almost 76.
Almost 76. It's right on the cusp. Like it's about 75, 750 is what I'm referencing here. Not bad. Again, some things we'll talk in a second, but not bad whatsoever.
And think of this too. This is again in the chance that we have an undefeated team.
Possible.
This is for roughly 6 months of work.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit less, right? I mean, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all.
For most people, they could definitely live off.
Yes, that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is pretty good if you are one of the best in the league, and we'll get our glimpses of that here in about under 2 weeks here. Kind of sneaking up on us with that draft. 12 days as I'm looking at this right now. Close. We'll know soon. Some other contract details. Contracts begin when signed and ends when either blank happens. Here, there's 3 scenarios of how this can end. Players not drafted. So contracts are being signed currently by some. That's not meaning you're guaranteed to be on a roster. So that's just saying you agree to the terms of the said contract they're giving you. So you have to still be drafted. They still have to pick you up during the player selections on the 22nd or 23rd. That is of course, to be determined. But it's saying if you get drafted, you're already ready to go. You understand what you're being kind of buckled into. Now, in season, if a player's cut, contract ends instantly. So you don't have to worry about anything with like extending past a year. You're free to go as you please. That ends right there. The third scenario, contract ends fully December 31st, 2022. However, there are options that are being added on to this. That's the key. You want to, Stefan, what do you think about that?
This is the interesting one, right? I think going into the contracts, there was a couple things that people wanted to know. Naturally, how much people are getting paid. And two, what is the league going to do to protect that player pool for a season 2, considering that there's the XFL that's going to be playing? Again, although they're not going head to head, you can't. There's a very unlikely situation where you're going to see a guy playing both in the same season, right? You're not going to see a guy play February to April and then April to July in the USFL. I mean, contractually, they're not going to let him, and we're starting to see that here.
Oh, yeah, non-competes are coming into order, funny enough. And it's funny, that's not even the only, like the USFL, the XFL, and funny enough, the FCF, I have learned, all three of those have non-competes with each other. Or at least, sorry, the USFL and the FCF do. I can't confirm the XFL, and I'm not going to do that right now.
Right.
But it's reasonable to assume, I'm going to throw a slight speculation zone in here. It is reasonable to assume that you will see a non-compete probably between the two leagues that are competing each other. Daryl Moose Johnston has said himself, I'm looking forward to competing with the XFL. It is prime competition. They will be fighting for players, much like the CFL actually, because funny enough, even the USFL will not let you go to the CFL. You are only allowed to jump to the NFL.
Right.
So they look at that as competition as well. Fair enough. It's all spring football. That player pool is looking to play in that similar time frame. And that is part of that deal as well, too. Other tidbits. Let's see here. They'll get extensive health insurance through 2023. So those that were asking questions about that is a checkbox mark off.
Well, and the nice thing about that, and this is an interesting, right? So if they sign the option, right? If they sign the extension, so they're going to know by April 30th if the league is interested in extending them, regardless if they stay on or not. They keep that health insurance through 2023 if they sign the extension.
That is nice.
Right. And so if they get cut, they're going to get that health care. I mean,
I like that. It's a clean move. I mean, the security blanket, health insurance that's one thing, people, you want to be protected for the inevitable, especially in a high risk job like the USFL.
Right.
And especially if your season ends because of a severe injury, like you tear an ACL, or you break a bone or something, a freak accident on the field, it's good to have that peace of mind as you are recovering through the rest of the year. Because ACLs, you definitely you're done. You have to be sitting out and rehabbing at that point.
You don't want to be a Mike Bercovici, which is not even his name, right? What is this? Is it Mike?
It is. You were about to say Mark, weren't you?
I don't even know. I was trying to say the wrong one, to be honest with you, just to get it. Did I say the right one by accident?
It's Mike. It is Mike Bercovici. We got, obviously we've been saying him enough to where people are like, it's not Mark Bercovici, dude. No, I find that's hilarious. So you really were trying to say that wrong?
I was, and that's funny. And then I got it right, and I was trying to say it right before, and I got it wrong. I guess that just welcome to my mind, I guess.
Beautiful.
Good moment. I love it.
That's good. Well, congratulations. Yes. If you get jacked up like a Mike Bercovici, and I seriously, I don't know how the heck we have gotten this far with getting this man's name on this show, but yeah, you want to have that covered up. That is a nice part that's added to this. It's good. It's really good. A few more tidbits with the handbook that were revealed as well. Again, shout out to Mike Mitchell for getting this. Conduct related issues. So we're talking like drug policy, name and likeness type of stuff. So first, name and likeness. If a player has any existing marketing, endorsement, sponsorship, or licensing agreements in place, they and their agents must disclose this for the league the time that they sign the contract. this is probably to some maybe a no-brainer, just have to let them know. Leagues kind of, we're talking players that aren't like NFL level all the time that are big time, but still it could happen.
Right.
You never know what there is. Drug policy, USFL is comprehensive drug policy, which includes both substances of abuse and performance enhancing substances. Again, that's just kind of a housekeeping item. Not totally shocked. And then finally, every player assigned to USFL has an individual name, image, and likeness rights for merchandising, endorsements, promotions, and practice event game footage. So that piece is what I think is hinting at they're going to market people pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm going to take a guess out of this handbook, the first few weeks are going to be evaluating who are the stars. They will then start marketing those said stars by mid-season.
I think so.
To get you interested. That is exactly what I think that is getting you ready for. Is like, hey, you so-and-so quarterback of the Gamblers.
Right.
You're pretty damn good. All right, let's make an ad. Or, hey, running back for the Pittsburgh Maulers, or maybe a coach is winning. So like Jeff Fisher, of course, you can get on there. This is more players, but nonetheless, like marketing, TV, it's all TV focused.
T-shirts, things like that too. I mean, like just looking back at the XFL, I mean, once they realized that PJ Walker was PJ Walker, they had PJ Walker T-shirts. So we're talking like week 3, they had them. They were there.
I mean, who remembers the MVPJ T-shirts?
Oh, I
like
have
those.
One.
You have one? I wish I had picked one up before they were gone.
Yeah.
I wish I had one.
I know. And it is a shame that you can't find you can't find that merchandise very easily anymore. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I got lucky at the clearance sales for this Battlehawks stuff. So I got like 2 of those shirts, one from like 47, So I don't know. I got lucky there. But that's exactly right. Like that's the other part of it. I'm thinking I'm still like TV on the brain for it, but they're going to evaluate and make sure that players that are making an impact, like the PJ Walkers of the world or Jordan Ta'amu's of the world, which, I mean, it's funny. Jordan Ta'amu sounds like he might be in this potentially. They're going to get him they're going to get him in front of the camera and say, hey, smile, you're a face of a league. We need to get stars. So,
right.
And especially if they survive past year 1, we might be in that conversation of who gets the star treatment. How do you retain those stars? We're not even there yet. But this opens that door to like, who do you keep?
Right.
Who's going to be here?
It's
items to think about.
I mean, it's so crazy to me. I felt, again, out of complete fairness, I felt the same way about the XFL. I thought a season 2 was guaranteed. I feel like a season 2 is very much guaranteed here with the USFL. Again, circumstances always change. We saw what happened with the XFL, so I'm not saying 100%. But I mean, just hearing what the executives are saying, just because I don't think they're worth calling out its own spot here, but we saw a couple of Fox executives join Outkick 360 this week. We had Edward Hartman and Mike Mulvihill.
Yes.
Sorry, Mike Mulvihill. Sorry, if you guys watch the show, you know I'm not very good with names, but Mulvihill, that's how you say it. And they are very positive that we're going to see this league continue on for season 2 and 3. Even in the earnings call this week with Lachlan Murdoch, they basically said the league's essentially paid for already for at least the first 2 or 3 years from outside investors alone. Now, whether that means, the NBC deal, some of the funding they get with Birmingham, or maybe they're further along in that private ownership conversation that we're aware of. The one thing that really stands out from both of the executives' interviews this week is they both shared the same sentiment that they know that fans want more information, but they're doing it on their time because they want it to be right.
Hey, they've been following that since the beginning. And we can sympathize. We stress. We want to hear it too.
Right.
Okay. I'll say it this week. I'm finally at that point where I'm like, okay, I get it. I want to see a schedule now. All right. We've been a few weeks. It's time. We know the first game. The Super Bowl's coming up. If supposedly that Super Bowl ad is going to hit, which, hey, it hit the Clash last week. I'm telling you, man, that has to be happening.
It feels right.
It feels like it's going to happen. Robert did not, of course, hint at that and didn't get the Clash one wrong. So reasonable to assume. Nonetheless, I would like a schedule too. I would like people that are casual fans, because there's this whole divide. We talk about this in Twitter or on our group chats. There's casual fans and there's diehard fans.
Mm-hmm.
Diehard fans like us, or those that watch this show, for the most part, they're wanting every nugget, any scrap you can find. Like we're talking on here, we're itching, clawing, and grabbing for it. Casual fans, they go for the big announcements. So like you see the USFL drop something, and then all of a sudden maybe we know about it weeks earlier. And then Pro Football Talk drops it. And they're like, oh, now it's real. That's the type of people that we're worried about. Like, we get it. What about the people that might be tuning in that don't know about this yet or aren't following along with the stories and like crawling Google and doing all this stuff?
Well, and exactly right. Exactly right, too, because, I mean, this is 2022. People have a much smaller attention span than they did before. And there's a good chance that you could tell everybody everything right now. But then that leaves you with no announcements leading up to the season. Like that last month before the season, man, I expect the marketing machine is going to be cranking things out left and right. And that's the time that you really want to hit these people, right?
They're churning it slowly. They got the picture series going on right now. Although I'm going to this is my last bit on this, and I'm going to stop getting on people because I bet people are like, okay, can we like knock this off? Where is the Todd Haley interview? I'm serious, man. They made all 7. People forgot about it, and I'm just going on like this tangent where I'm like, dude, where's this interview footage? Did he just not make it that day? It's like, I don't get it.
I don't get it. It's one of those mysteries that maybe we'll never know an answer to, but hopefully there's a funny story involved. Maybe he had to go meet up with Antonio Brown and sign that contract that day. Who knows, guys? I'm being sarcastic just in case anybody questions that. Pitchforks fired, detract. I don't want to blockade. I don't want to hear. Joking.
You never know. Maybe we'll find. Hopefully the story is revealed. I'm just telling you, man. They released like another post on Twitter about like all 8 coaches, and you see Haley in the Tampa Bay Bandits polo, and I'm going, oh, either this is photoshopped or he had time for the photo, but he didn't have time for the interview. Come on, man.
He ain't got no time for that. He's going classic meme.
That marketing's good, churn up. We're hearing, draft time. It sounds like it's going to really kick into gear. I think they want players to, pipe up too, make things easier. I mean, schedule's going to come out though. I get the frustration as we're on this tangent, but that's the thing. We get these pieces of news, and we want to hear about this stuff. Which, like I said, the contract thing's great. Now I'm going to turn a little harsher.
Yeah, there you go.
And we'll play some good cop. We'll play some good cop, bad cop a little bit. And I'm going to start this with a question here, Stefan.
Okay.
So these numbers, they're pretty good on the surface. 45,000 for an active roster player that's playing every week, guaranteed. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, without winning any games.
Like we had people breaking this stuff down. Like what was better, XFL 2.0 or this? And it was like pretty much close to each other about what you were hearing, like similar numbers in that way. Now, what did you assume? And this will be similar to me. What did you assume was the housing situation based on the language we have had?
So, prior to this, everything that we've understood was that housing was going to be included as long as food. Now, it seems like that's the case for the preseason training camp, all that, but that shifts into the regular season. Yeah. And now, to be fair, we did reach out to the league, and their comment was, "We have no comment." Essentially,
right?
It was we're not going to comment on that matter. Take that for what you will. That, in some people's mind, right away, that confirms that it's true. In other people's minds, there may be more to the story. And now, I think that it's probably accurate that there's some type of payment involved. But I also think, and I don't know, but I also think there's probably more to the story as well, right? So, for instance, what we heard initially is already kind of softened up a bit. Initially, it sounded like they're going to have to pay for the hotels. They have to. Whereas now they might not have to. I don't know if there's other housing options that they're offering, or if you live in the area or you want to get an Airbnb or if you want to rent a house and share it amongst players, it sounds like that's an option. Again, not a great option, I will admit, but an option. So it's not something that the league is forcing per se. But I mean, again, I feel like there's probably a lot more details to this. I'm sure one of these days an actual print version of this contract will leak and all of this will be answered. But I will say I lean on the side of your fence that it seems like all of this is accurate, regardless if there's a comment or not. It's not great, but it's something, right?
Sure. I look back here after, so the whole initial piece of this is that housing will be available for $150 a night at the hotels. Now, the hotels have been part of this deal since the beginning. In early talks with the USFL, well, really Fox and Birmingham officials, they wanted to utilize 40,000 hotel nights in the city of Birmingham. Utilize is the key word. Going back into this, I was like, oh, they're going to, I'm like you. I'm thinking they're going to pay for it.
Right.
But much like how you've definitely taught me in the past and how I'm getting more keen to this, wording is very important. Utilize. That does not mean that they will be paying for it. That's not guaranteeing it will, and I know that there's still some stuff in the air, possibly. I'm definitely leaning on the side that it's on good faith that this is happening, but that wording makes me then go, oh, this is where the door was possibly left open here. So $150, right now the talk is $150 a night will be available as a rate for players without the incidentals. So no Wi-Fi or things like that is what's being discussed and what is supposedly leaked in this handbook as an option. And it sounded like options for other places that you're talking about are possibly available. That's great. My question would be, and this is more directed towards the city of Birmingham itself, as well as Fox, mostly Birmingham, how is getting a less guaranteed stream of revenue for your hotels the vital option here when you're making the players make this choice? Like, why not just have Fox do it outright? Like, just say, okay, we're buying these hotels. You get all your money here, and the players get in. I kind of have a theory here, a speculation, if you will, speculation zone item.
I like it.
So let's look back at least the AAF. I won't say as much the XFL because their split was at least a little more amicable and it was understanding and there was money there to cut it off to a degree. There were some bankrupt issues that still didn't fully get resolved, I'll admit. But the AAF, one thing that was a problem for them, they were the ones on the hook for the hotels and they left players stranded.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Right.
And players then got the bill. So I'm not saying the USFL is bound to fail. And I don't think it will at all. I really don't think it will because they're doing financial savvy. But I think this move was made to put the burden of the hotels on the players so that if, say, DEFCON 5 hits and you have to hit the big red button to blow it all up, their hands are technically clean.
Right.
There's nothing on the hook because the contract says the players are paying for these rates.
Right.
We have this arrangement. The players are doing it. So that's what I think is on this. Instead of saying we're going to pay every night and do it that way, which I would rather have, by the way. Fox has the money. This isn't Reggie Fowler, like fly by night. All of a sudden, FTC's knocking on your door. This is Fox.
Right.
I wish.
At the same time, though, these are the things. And again, I'm not saying I agree with it. That's a very important distinction. Put your pitchfork, fire away. But these are the types of things that are going to help ensure we see a season 2. Right. I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah. But now here's the thing. Now it's a different game, right? You come back for season 2. Is it the same? Do you build upon what you have now? Because I think especially so when you start having these guys, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but potentially doing a little bit more travel between stadiums and things like that. I think it's a different game. I think you almost have to pay for stay. I mean, you can't be in a situation where a guy is in Tampa Bay and can't afford a hotel,
Well, season 2, that's going to be a lot of extra questions, because if we're talking people that supposedly they're already looking at investors, and supposedly there's people that are having preliminary talks behind the scenes on getting teams out to their markets, yeah, that's a completely different thing. I am just enough okay with letting it slide if players have options to house themselves. Now what worries me there is if they say they get drafted and, Birmingham is in terms of the housing as the like Verbo Airbnb market catches on. Generally, if they know traffic's going to be there, I hate to say it, prices jump.
Right.
That's the thing that worries me. And then the hotels have to be the option because it's technically subsidized a little bit. It's a rate that they agreed upon. So it's kind of stuck as flat. I think either way, I wish this wasn't the case, but again, my theory is that they're trying to be like, we're playing this safe. We're playing this to the vest and keeping the money where we have little loose ends as possible. If it happens to go wrong, if it happens to go sideways.
Right.
That's the only thing I can justify it being. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here and going, why do you not pay for this fully?
Right.
That's my whole mindset. That's it. That's the calmest way I can put it without being upset that like, this is a player rights thing. What are you doing? UFPA, get on this, you know what I'm saying?
I will say this, there's always going to be some good with, some bad with the good. Always. This could be a lot worse. There could be a lot. You mentioned the AAF earlier. They were carting those guys across state lines because they had to skirt around the health insurance or the insurance laws in Florida.
I was going to Georgia and all that. Yeah.
So, this isn't that. I don't like it. I will deal with it as we move into season 2, hopefully season 3 and beyond. I think the expectations maybe get a little higher to say, well, come on now, because we're doing things that maybe other leagues haven't, right? Especially by then, considering expansion or whatever might happen. So that's my take on it. It ain't the greatest news. It ain't the worst news, right? It is by far the worst news. At least I'm not worrying about having a guy that owns a hockey team potentially coming in and saving the league after week 2, right? I don't have to worry about that. Like, none of the executives are getting carted off for tax fraud.
Shouldn't be a Tom Dundon scenario in this at all, because like I said, Fox is, for crying out loud, reporting like better than they're getting gains in ad revenue right now. Like, they're making money. This is a company that has the dough,
right?
So finances, again, not a problem. I think also this slides a little for me this year. And I'm saying slightly because of the fact that, they don't have competition in terms of, the XFL, which is going to be very prevalent next year. The CFL doesn't do paid housing. So in terms of outdoor markets and rivals, it's technically on par. Again, I wish both of them did pay for housing, but I digress. And the only other thing you can compare this to is indoor and arena leagues, which do pay for apartment housing. That is the case. Funny, you talk with Jim Renier, and who's a massive Sharks fan. He knows they pay for a hotel in downtown Jacksonville, like a whole level for the team to stay at. So this does happen in those leagues. Difference is, though, that's a standard in arena. Outdoor, it's not really. I guess that's the only way I can put it. It's just that it's in a hub. So you think it be that way. That's the last bit I got on this. I think this year you just have to deal with it as a fan. That's like an element is in the back of your head. But next year it's going to be something they probably rethink if markets get moved to. You have competition that will be rivaling you probably on certain elements of what your contracts look like, with or without non-compete clauses.
Right.
So you have to consider these elements. This year they can, because they're the sole guys right now. That's it. They're setting a standard. They're the base. They're the bar right now.
Right.
In terms of what's active, not the defunct past, what's active at the moment.
And I think it is important to add, I don't think this is going to dissuade a lot of people from playing in the USFL. Clearly, it's going to stop some. We've seen a couple. Yes. I'm not going to mention it, but I think there's still a lot of guys that, it's their dream to either get back on the football field or get on it, at least for the first time in a professional setting, to kind of prove themselves. Again, I don't necessarily think that it should be this case, but I don't worry there from a pool standpoint either, right? I don't think we're gonna see a drastic dip because of this, but it gives us something to look forward to for the next year and the years beyond, to see how they adjust. how they build, how they grow. We've heard this from the executives already, and they kind of know where they're at. They're going into the season one very bare bones, very basic. I mean, we're seeing, again, it's not the spring league because we're seeing so much more of a marketing machine behind it than we could even imagine for the spring league. Yes, it's a central hub, but I mean, we got some big name coaches. We got, quality names and logos. Cities are associated, things like that. And we're starting to see them, at least Brian Woods, do some of these local interviews, which we're going to talk about later. So they're at least bringing that interest into the local market. So they might not be playing there, but they're at least testing the waters, right? And like I said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.